Hey guys, this is Miss Arlequin, and in this video we're going to be learning our new vocabulary words for our first unit text, and we're going to be writing our example sentences. All right, so as always, the first thing I want you to do is take your vocabulary sheet and take a couple of moments to rate your knowledge of our new words. First word is reasonable. Second is impression. Third is drive. Fourth is customary. Fifth is preliminary. Sixth is accused. And seventh is resumes. All right, so we're going to start with the word reasonable. So reasonable describes someone or something that's sensible, so it makes sense, and it's fair. Like your teacher who gives reasonable homework assignments. They don't take you forever to do, and they relate to what you're studying. So the homework is reasonable. If you're reasonable, it means you have a good sense and good judgment. A reasonable decision is one that's rational and it's thought out, like your mom's reasonable rule about not eating crumbly foods in her car. It is a rule that makes sense. It's fair. It's well thought out. So when you describe a store's prices as reasonable, you mean they're fair. They're not too high. And if you're given a reasonable amount of time to do a project for school, you have no excuse for it being late. So once again, it's an adjective, and it means fair, sensible, makes sense. Nancy offered a reasonable compromise when her sisters were fighting over the last cookie. Our next word is impression. An impression is an imprint either in your mind or on an object. To make a good impression on your friend's parents, you probably shouldn't let your muddy boots leave impressions on their perfect white kitchen floor. The noun impression actually comes from the Latin word imprimere, which means to press into or upon, like a stamp. So when you press a coin into a piece of modeling clay, there's going to be an impression or a likeness of its design in the clay. Kind of like what many parents do with their babies. They make handprints and footprints in clay so they can always remember how small their beloved children once were. All right, so the way we're going to use impression in this text is we're going to talk about how it is the opinion or feeling that you have about someone or something because of the way they seem. So we're talking about making an impression on somebody. It's important to leave a good first impression on a first date or an interview. All right, our next word is drive. And in this definition, we're not talking about the actual verb, the act of driving. We're talking about when you have drive. When you have drive, you basically mean that you have a strong desire for success. So people either have a weak drive or a strong drive. Actually, when you think about the word drive, it's actually very closely related to the word ambition. Somebody who has ambition, who's looking to make something of themselves, has a lot of drive. Ruby is full of drive and determination. She works hard to get what she wants and doesn't give up. So again, somebody who has drive is going to work hard. They have a goal. They're going to do everything they can to achieve that goal. All right, our next word is customary. Something customary is done according to practice. So it's like a habit or a ritual. When a bride walks down the aisle, it's customary for everyone at the wedding to rise out of respect. So the word customary is related to the noun customs. You talk about the customs of your family or the customs of your ethnicity, your religious customs. It's the things that you do out of practice, out of habit. Every culture has its own customary traditions, rituals. In American culture, it's customary for a child who loses a tooth to put it under her pillow and wait for the tooth fairy to arrive. But in Greece, on the other hand, it's customary to throw a child's lost tooth onto the roof for good luck. Customary can also be a reference to anything habitual, anything that's a habit that people do, like taking your shoes off when you come home or writing in your diary before bed. So you might say, it's customary in my family to take our shoes off at the door. Or I find it customary to write in my diary every night before I go to sleep. So again, customary means that it is something that's according to the customs or the usual practices of society. It's customary to give food servers a tip in the amount of 15 to 20% of the bill. All right, our next word is preliminary. Preliminary means something that comes before something else. So if you want to run in the race, you have to place in the top third of the preliminary round. This is a very famous photo of Usain Bolt, the fastest man alive as of right now. This was a preliminary race he was running during the Olympics. And you can see it's famous because he's so fast, he even has time to turn around and smile at the people behind him. So this is a preliminary round. It's a round of racing that's happening before the main race. It's done early. That's why you even have the prefix pre here. Pre usually means before. So the preliminary results are in and you've won. Usain Bolt won the preliminary race. So preliminary, adjective, if you're going to describe something as preliminary, you're saying that that thing is happening before something that's important, usually in order to prepare for it. So the preliminary results of the vote show that the mayor's opponent is now in the lead. So any kind of polls that they do before an election are preliminary results. They do the poll to see what the actual election itself is going to bring, what the results of the actual election are going to be. All right, next is accused. The accused, it's a noun, so this names a specific type of person. You could also use it as a verb when you accuse somebody. If you accuse them, you're saying they did it. If you're describing them as the accused, then you're saying that that is the person who's charged with a crime. So the accused was found not guilty, and he practically accused you. He is charging you with a crime. He accused you of causing the accident. All right, our next word is resume. If you resume something, you start it again after stopping. So you might resume singing an aria after breaking to spit out your gum, because clearly it's not a good idea to chew gum while you're singing. So when you are resuming something, it's a verb. It means that you paused. You were doing something, you paused, and now you're resuming it. Now you're starting it up again. So you begin to do or pursue something after a pause or an interruption. The speaker resumes his place at the podium. So he takes it again. He left the podium. Maybe he had to go to the bathroom. He took a little bathroom break, and now he's back. So he's resuming his place. After getting a snack in the kitchen, we went back to the living room to resume studying, to start studying again, to start it again. When I press play on the DVD, I am resuming the movie. All right, so now it's time to write your own sentences. There are sentence frames on the screen. Please feel free to use them if you feel like you need them. And remember that using previous vocabulary words is always going to get you bonus points.